In 1974, one of Britain's best-known criminals was sent away for 5 years to Her Majesty's Prison, Slade.
Fletcher, Norman Stanley, 42, 5 years. Knows the score, sir. Done a lot above. Water off the duck's back.
This is the life story of Norman Stanley Fletcher, using dramatic reconstructions, previously unseen footage, and exclusive interviews with family, friends, and associates. We chart the checkered career of this habitual criminal.
Top bloke, Fletch. Always thinking.
Loved by everyone was Fletch.
Was that the old guy, the really old guy at the end of the bar, surrounded by young girls? I hate that.
Prison, institution of punishment or rehabilitation. For the likes of Norman Stanley, it made little difference. Porridge was porridge.
Hello, Dad.
Hello, Ingrid, love. Hello. How's your mama?
Oh, she's fine, Dad. She sends her love and everything.
Oh, good.
And for his daughter Ingrid, prison was always part of family life. Now in her 50s, she has begun to explore her father's history.
That's the one. That's the house Dad was born in. February the 2nd, 1932. Of course, that's not where my grandparents lived, but Grandad was robbing the place at the time, and Gran's waters broke while she was on lookout.
Fletcher had a rich criminal ancestry, but he was also a child of his time. In 1940, aged 8, he was evacuated with his older brother George, who has returned from his home in Australia to take part in this film.
Yeah, me and Norman were evacuated, 1940, to this farm in Wales. God-awful place it was. Dirty, filthy, stank of pigs. That was just the farmer.
Please say
Bloody hell, it's still here. That's Smelly Davis's place.
I won't be long.
God.
They'll be happy to
They had this son, you know. No, he was bloody weird. Can I help you? Oh, I don't believe it.
Wartime rationing gave the Fletcher boys their first criminal opportunity.
Yeah, we started an egg smuggling racket. We'd nick enough eggs for a couple of boxes, give them to the guard of the London train, who was in on it, and he'd get them to Dad to flog around Muswell Hill. This is amazing. After all this time.
Do you remember the Fletcher brothers?
Yes. I do remember.
Get off! I'm telling Dad about you nicking the eggs.
Shut up, you nut! You're not telling anyone anything, you grey Welsh scrote.
Egg smuggling was something Fletcher would return to in later life.
Now then, girls, this is what's known as one of the perks of the job. Now, with these eggs I'm smuggling in here, I can get myself a quarter of ounce of shag, or 2 tubes of toothpaste, or 3 bars of fruit and nut, or I could take them down to E-Wing and see Smutty Garland, the king of the porn, exchanging with 2 of his dirty books. Yeah. Full of full frontal naked newborns. I think I'd rather have a fruit and nut myself.
Yeah, me and Norm got sent home after that. Wasn't so much the egg smuggling as the bacon smuggling, which we tried to do while it was still in its wrapper. See you then, Di. You great Welsh nook.
Bang, 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 bang.
It's truth, I think we better scarper.
Run, rabbit, run, 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 run.
Returning to war-torn London, the Fletcher boys found their father in uniform, prison uniform, serving 18 months in Pentonville. Left to their own devices, Norman and George went further off the rails.
Yeah, this is it. Norman's first brush with the judicial system. 1947, that'd be. 9 months in brutal for nicking a load of chocolates out of a confectionery in Oban, flogging them off the ration. Yeah, Norman said the magistrate came down very hard on him after he tried to bribe him. Apparently his honour didn't fancy fruit and nut. So we done here? Pubs are open.
Here at Lark Hall, these young ruffians are taught the error of their ways. Their natural exuberance is put to good use through bricklaying, woodwork, or smashing up copper wire with hammers. But what is life like inside for these criminal children? Let's ask this young recidivist, Norman Fletcher.
Naff off!
For Fletcher, Borstal was a finishing school in felony. He left with only 2 skills, breaking and entering.
Of course, due to my lack of scholastic achievement, I was unable to follow the professions that I wanted to, like stockbrokering or teaching tennis in a girls' school. As I didn't fancy much working in the cardboard box factory, I robbed his sub-post office off the North Circular.
And they've never looked back since, so to speak?
No, nor have I ever been short for Epley stamps.
But in 1949, Fletcher was dragged away from a promising career in crime to do his national service. He did his best to avoid serving king and country, claiming flat feet.
Now, I'm going to give you men a stringent medical.
VD?
No?
Suffer from any illness?
Bad feet.
Suffer from any illness?
Bad feet.
Made a recent visit to a doctor or hospital?
Only with me bad feet.
Are you now, or have you at any time been a practicing homosexual?
What were these feet?
Right, you're A1.
Certified fit for national service and institutionalized once again, Fletcher was sent to Malaya, where he threw himself wholeheartedly into the fine military tradition of skiving. We returned to Malaysia to meet Chan Kai Leong, who still remembers the exploits of Private Fletcher.
仲有啊，佢路數啊真係一流啊！你要乜佢都偷到俾你嘅喎。你要煙仔啦、雞蛋啦、鞋油啊，仲有啊 fruit and nut 啊，一樣搞掂。奇怪咧就，佢成日叫我同佢買茶喎。我話喂 Fletcher， 你黐㗎你，我點會買呢啲茶啫？我哋呢度大把茶，多咗耳仔雪流出嚟，仲買你啲茶
？May 1952. Fletcher was back on Civvy Street and determined to make up for lost time. He was also looking for love.
So, did you enjoy that?
Oh, yes, Norman.
Oh, yeah. What about the film?
Norman, you're incorrigible.
Come here, encourage me then, eh?
Dad met Mum soon after leaving the army. She was working in the hardware department at Gamages. Her parents thought he was a bit of a ruffian. Not that you could blame them. He was only in Gamages to buy a new crowbar. So, they had to find places, you know, to be together.
There was the cinema too, there's the Muswell Hill Odeon. Or the back seat of a car. If I could open one.
Your carriage awaits.
Norman, you are awful.
Hurry up, love, I'm freezing them off here.
All right. Oh.
Right, come here, you.
Oh, Norman! Not the glass!
Now, my daughter Ingrid, my oldest, now this is between you and me, Gob, all right? She was actually conceived in Highgate Cemetery.
Where's that grave? They all start to look the same, don't they, after a while? Oh, what was his name? Spencer?
Marks.
Oh.
We went there to view the tomb of Karl Marx, you see. Yeah. Because I was going through a political stage at the time and I was also a bit randy, you know what I mean?
Mum and Dad got married at Muswell Hill Registry with a reception at the Black Lion. Lovely spread. Not that I was there. Well, I wasn't away, but Mum made sure she got a dress that didn't show too much. And she paid for it and all. She wouldn't let Dad nick it for her. Could you just close them curtains for me? I've forgotten we had this till you lot rang.
The chapel and we're gonna get married.
But love's young dream quickly turned into a nightmare.
Get married. We really love you and we're gonna get married. Going to the chapel of love.
Fletcher was found guilty of breaking and entering. His honeymoon and first 3 years of married life were spent here in Brixton Prison.
Yeah, it was his first taste of real porridge. That sort of thing stays with you, you know. Brixton certainly changed Norm. He learned a very valuable lesson.
What do you think that was?
Don't get caught.
Martin Gillespie first met Fletcher in Brixton.
Once you've been in prison, once you've got a criminal record, it's very hard to go back. You're branded thief, villain, antisocial element. For my nerves. Prisoners think they have it bad, but it's the welfare officers who really suffer.
Fletcher was released in the summer of 1955, and soon a one-man crime wave hit North London.
Jumping and the jump began to swing. You should have heard this knocked out jailbird sing. Let it rock. Everybody let it rock.
While the world and his wife were out rocking and rolling, Fletch was strolling off with all their worldly goods.
Spider Murphy played his tenor saxophone. Little Joe was blowing on the slide trombone. The drummer boy from Alabama.
And he moved with the times to become king of Muswell Hill's Teddy Boys.
Fletch? Oh yeah, rock and roll he was, yeah. King of the Teds they called him. The tightest trousers in Muswell Hill. Oh, he could be a bit leery when he wanted, yeah. But he was a very good singer though, you know, yeah. I used to say to him, if he hadn't devoted his life to crime, he could have been just like Cliff Richard. He said that was the biggest incentive to keep robbing he ever heard. It was a shame though, I used to love hearing him sing.
I used to do a lot of singing, you know, around the pubs, North London, like the Angel Walthamstow Friday night. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a round of applause now for Frankie Fletcher.
See the pyramids along the Nile. See the sunrise on a desert isle. Just remember, darling, all the while, that you belong to me.
Yeah, Norman only ever sang that one song. I tried to get him to learn Jailhouse Rock, but he said he didn't want to tempt fate. So he sang You Belong to Me. Still, it seemed to do the job.
Despite his band of gold, Frankie Fletcher couldn't resist the fringe benefits of rock and roll.
Just remember till you're Norman home again.
Oh, Gloria.
You belong to
Gloria? Oh yeah, there was a Gloria. Of course there was a Gloria. Yeah, of course there was once. Well, lots of times actually.
Was that before you met your Isabel?
Well, no, to be honest, Lenny, no, I mustn't be untruthful. No, that was actually a bit of an indiscretion round about 1955. She was a machinist what worked at a clothing factory, so I used to go round her place, have me evil way of her, and get me trousers narrowed at the same time.
The affair ended when Fletcher's wife Isabel fell pregnant with their second child.
They was hard times for Mum. Dad was in and out of prison and she was in and out of labour. She must have spent the best part of the 60s in the visiting rooms and nicks.
And Isabel Fletcher did stand by her man, from Brixton to the Scrubs
Something warm to come
to Maidstone.
are cold and lonely. Stand by your man.
Of course, most people with 3 kids to look after, they'd think about settling down. For Dad, It just meant he had to do 3 times as many jobs. Still, to be fair to him, he always made sure we had a family holiday. Here we are. This is us on a day trip to Maidstone. He was there doing 3 years for breaking and entering.
By the end of the 60s, Fletcher was a free man again, but had he learnt his lesson?
For goodness sake, I got the hippie shakes.
As swinging Londoners tuned in and dropped out, Fletcher dropped in and turned them over.
That was a good time for Dad. Well, for all of us. It was a long stretch he'd had out of prison. They were the best times, they were. He was around during the day and we was very comfortably off. The house was full of all the latest gadgets from other people's houses.
Crime becomes habit, routine, the norm. That's what it was for Norman, the norm. It was the norm for Norman. Anyone counter how many of those I took? I believe that criminals often need a shock for them to start to re-evaluate their behaviour. Not an electric shock. No. I'm not advocating torture. Though if you want torture, try being a welfare officer.
For Fletcher, that shock came in 1974. Having stayed out of jail for 6 years, his run of good luck came to an abrupt halt.
I mean, look at this. Father of 3, Norman Fletcher, has been remanded to Brixton to await trial. Mum was livid. I mean, 42 and behaving like Steve McQueen with a lorry.
I lift this lorry, don't I, you know? Impulse deal, know what I mean? Impulse deal. I thought it was going to be a doddle, didn't I?
I gather it wasn't.
No, you know why, don't you? Flaming brakes failed on me.
Oh, no.
It's criminal the way they let the lorries on the roads in that condition, you know?
I hears this lorry and I say to my Frank, someone's going to have an accident. And suddenly, well, it goes through number 42, 45 and 47, right through our back wall. He's flat in Frank's tool shed. Just bad luck Frank wasn't in it at the time. Good luck, obviously.
Did they get you for willful destruction of property?
Huh?
Well, yeah. Knocking that wall down, I mean.
Oh, yeah. And I asked for 6 other offences to be taken into consideration.
And so Norman Stanley Fletcher arrived in Her Majesty's prison Slade.
Peter gets a haircut.
And quickly settled in.
Hello, Warren. What do you want?
The honours.
What, read it out to you, mean? Yeah, all right, yeah. Right, ready?
Yeah.
My dearest Bunny. Bunny?
Bunny Warren.
Oh, yeah. That's good, isn't it? Yeah, Bunny Warren, yeah.
Yeah, not a bad nick, Slade. I've seen worse. What's that one in Wandsworth?
Wandsworth.
Yeah, that's the one. Terrible. No, Slade was okay. Middle of nowhere, mind you. When I got sent down, I tried to find it on the map. I couldn't.
Why, wasn't it marked?
Oh, yeah, it was there. It's just that at the time I couldn't read anything, let alone maps.
I miss you and think of us when you was at home and you used to take mine.
What? Used to what?
Well, it's a bit personal in the next bit, you know what I mean? I don't think I should really read it out, you know, loud, not in front of me.
Fletcher was always helping people out like. Very clever fella. Brains, you see. Not brawn, not muscle. If I learned anything from being inside, I learned that. You need to use your brains.
I know it was hard for him. Norman wasn't like the rest of us. Well, he certainly wasn't like me. He was older, had more responsibilities. I had Trevor and the cats, but he had a whole family to think of. His poor wife.
I don't know how she does it. I just don't know how she does it.
Oh, well, I'm not saying it ain't a bit hard for her at times. For instance, a few weeks ago now, she had to build a new coal bunker for herself. I mean, now that's no job for a woman, is it, eh?
Oh, dear. You mean she had to mix the concrete and all that?
Oh, no. Her mother came over and did that for her.
You do miss your loved ones inside. I miss Trevor something awful, you know, just having someone to talk to. Isn't that right, Trevor?
One man's life would be transformed by the time he spent inside with Fletcher.
He was a survivor, Fletch. And that's important in Nick. Little victories, that's all you can ever win. Those days I was a bit of a hard man, youthful exuberance, that sort of thing. That's my own worst enemy. And there was a lot of competition. If anybody rubbed me up the wrong way, I'd fly off the handle. You know, I'd pick the handle back up and twat them with it.
What the hell? Oh, sorry, son, sorry.
Don't you watch where you're carrying going, Fletcher?
I said I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry. It won't happen again, I promise you.
Watch it.
I will, yes, I will. I don't want no bother, son, because I'm not a well man, see? I don't want no trouble with you, McLaren. Listen to me, you. I know you're a hard case, we all know that. We all know you're full of nasty militant feelings, but if you ever talk to me again like that, I'm going to twist your head round like a cork in a bottle of Beaujolais, all right?
Fletch saw in me the young man he used to be. Well, not black or Scottish, obviously, but you know what I mean. And with Godber and all, he was quite the father figure. Albeit the sort of father that allowed you to bunk off school and go shoplifting. Come to think of it, it's the ideal father.
I'm finding it very hard to adjust. It's unnatural, isn't it? Men in cages.
The fellow prisoner who was to make the biggest impact on Fletcher's life was his cellmate, 23-year-old first-time offender, Lenny Godber.
You know, this is the bit I can't stand.
What?
Lock up. It's only 7:45. It's barely dark out there. If I was at home now, I'd just be getting ready to go out for the evening.
If you're keen, we could go out, you know. Oh, yeah, I could ring up a couple of birds, you know. A couple of them darlings that dance on top of the pops, you know what I mean? What they call Pan's people, yeah. There's one special one, beautiful Babs. I don't know what her name is. Now, why don't we just have a quiet night in, eh? All right?
Trouble is, I've got 698 quiet nights in to go.
Now, years of porridge, banged up all day. That can do your head in that camp. The grim, unrelenting monotony. But, you know, anything a bit different that breaks up the routine, well, that's good news. I remember once, we had a rock group came and played at Slade. Can't remember the name.
Slade?
Yeah, you know your stuff, don't you?
Music from 1973, #1 single from the mighty Slade. No, I think it was an amazing event and a seminal live recording, I think, Slade at Slade. It was kind of like, I think to the boys it was a bit like Johnny Cash at St Quentin, and of course in this case there was the added bonus of the pun, which I think appealed to Noddy in particular. We actually covered the gig for the Old Grey Whistle Test, and it was a fantastic experience. In fact, I believe it was an experience that made the band more aware.
Of what?
Well, the need to lock the tour bus, for a start. I mean, Noddy lost one of his big hats. Even a couple of pairs of Dave's silver moon boots were stolen. I mean, I thought it was really out of order.
One man who made sure he had front row seats for the concert was Slade Prison's Mr. Big, Harry Grout.
So, well, when you were at Slade, did you meet Harry Grout?
Harry Grout? Yes, I did. I met him when we were covering the gig. Apparently he'd asked the band to do a version of Moon River. Of course, they didn't know the song at all, but they pretty quickly learned it. I mean, you know, he wasn't a guy to mess around with.
Cocoa, Fletch? Oh, thanks. Don't mind if I do, huh? Sugar? Oh, thank you, yeah. Short sugar, are you? Yeah.
Should I feed Seymour, Harry?
Yeah, go on. Seymour? Oh, our clever friend, yeah, very nice, yeah.
Well, he's a bit of company for me of an evening, you know. When I was in Parkhurst, I had a pigeon.
Oh, like the Birdman of Alcatraz.
Not really, no.
Yeah. What'd you do with it when you had to move, like?
I ate it.
Harry Grout was later to become as famous as fellow East End gangster Frankie Fraser when he published his memoirs, Grout and About.
Before we get to your last record, Harry, you mention in your book how much you enjoyed Desert Island Discs.
Oh, that's right, Sue. Though I preferred Roy Plumley. Not the same with a woman, is it?
Tell me about your next record.
Moon River.
Grout might have been a career criminal, but Fletcher was ready for a fresh start.
I'm 45 now. 45 years of age. And I've worked out that I've spent about 7 days, on average, 7 days out of every 30 in some nick or another. That's a week in every month, isn't it? Shocking waste, isn't it?
Fletcher was paroled in 1978, finally vowing to go straight.
Well, off you go then. Just a minute, just a minute. Left something behind, have you?
Yeah. 3.5 years of my life.
Right then. Off you go.
I want to hear this door shut behind me first.
I'm supposed to see you off the premises.
Listen, mate, you're never going to see me hammering on this door crying, let me in, I'll tell you.
Right then. You better move on a bit sharpish.
All right, all right.
So Dad comes out again and announces he's going straight. Just what us and Mum had wanted all those years. It's just a pity she wasn't around anymore.
What happened to her?
Oh, she moved in with Reg Jessup, you know, of Jessup's cardboard boxes. He used to come into her dry cleaners to get his trousers pressed.
Fletcher's wife Isabel had left him, but the house was far from empty. Ex-cellmate Lenny Godber, now a lorry driver, had started dropping by to see Ingrid.
Young Godber? You seeing him, are you?
We keep in touch.
You can do better than him, you know.
I'm the judge of that.
All right then, when do you see him?
When I can.
Oh, yeah. Well, who are you titivating yourself up tonight for then, eh? Doing your nails and doing your hair and ironing your dress, eh?
Leonard.
Oh, he's in London, is he?
Yeah. He's upstairs having his shave.
He's what?
Poor old Fletch. He'd lost his old lady and gained a son. He wasn't best pleased. He was very protective of Ingrid. Wanted Godber's licence withdrawn, if you get me meaning. There. Oh, are there two L's at the end of school?
No.
Oh.
I don't know where he is. He promised he'd be back in time. Probably traffic on the M1 or something. I don't know why he keeps driving at his age. Oh, this'll be him now. Leonard? Colchester? What are you doing in Colchester? Oh, Lenny, you promised you'd be back in time. They brought the cameras and everything. Yeah. Well, I'll just have to tell them about our wedding myself. Good. Fine. Bye. Oh.
What's going on here then?
This is Norman Jr. Come on in, love. I'm just talking to the BBC about your granddad.
Oh yeah, why is that?
I'm not sure.
Do you know Cat Dealey?
No, sorry.
Sorry about him. He was planned and everything.
Oi!
Hey, it's a compliment, lovey. Sorry, where was I?
The wedding.
Oh, yeah. March the 5th, 1978. If there was one good thing to come out of prison, it was me and Lenny. It was just perfect.
Everything was changing for Fletcher. He was even forced to take his first proper job here at the Dolphin Hotel in Paddington. The owner, Harold McEwen, had a policy of taking on ex-cons.
Of course, it's changed quite a bit since I had it. I sold up and moved to Malawi, wonderful place, great quality of life, and so on and so forth. A man can get really close to nature, run with the lions, etc., etc., And one wears far fewer clothes.
Call it instinct, call it experience, but I'm generally able to assess a man. It was the same in Africa. I had to hire natives fresh from the bush. And basically I had to judge at a glance whether these chappies were the sort who would do an honest day's work or run off with your livestock. But I never had cause to regret except on two unfortunate occasions.
This is where Norman used to sit. I believe very strongly in giving people a second chance. I always used to take on convicts. One has to give people a second chance, doesn't one? Oh, yes.
It was ever so strange, Fletch working for a living. It just didn't seem right. Trev and I went out to see him, stayed at the hotel. It was a nice romantic weekend, wasn't it, Trev? We didn't tell Fletch at the time, but we actually nicked a couple of lovely matching bathrobes.
After 2 years as the hotel's night porter, Fletcher was offered a promotion and more responsibility.
He turned me down. Not only that, he resigned, handed in his notice and so on and so forth. I said to him, Fletcher, I'm not here to judge. A man must make his own decisions, etc., etc. But I was very sad to see Norman go, particularly as his replacement had away with the contents of the safe on his first night. Bad do. That sort of thing would never happen in Malawi. Except on two unfortunate occasions.
All Fletcher wanted was an easy life, so when old associate Jim Grady offered him a night watchman's post at a warehouse, he jumped at the job.
Mr. Grady, is it true that your company knowingly employs ex-felons?
Naff off.
And that you yourself have been linked to robberies in premises that your company was supposed to be guarding?
I said naff off. No comment, naff off.
Mr. Grady, why does your company employ criminals as security guards?
Because they know what to look out for, don't they? Now naff off.
Within the month, the warehouse was raided by none other than Harry Grout's gang, and Fletcher found himself dragged back into the criminal world of Grouty.
Well, this is lovely, isn't it? Nice little reunion we're having here. Well, come on then, you better get it over with. Make it look as if I put up a struggle.
Sorry about this, Fletch. We've got to make it look realistic.
Yeah. Get on with it, you nerk.
Fletch enjoyed a short stay in hospital, but when he came out, Harry Grout was waiting for him.
I heard that Fletch is back in with Grouty. Sailing a bit close to the wind for a man that's going straight, I'd have thought. You get caught up with Grouty, you're likely to lose two things. Your clean record and your... actually, three things.
Grouty insisted that Fletch front his latest investment, a nightclub in Bexley Heath called Montego's. Fletch couldn't say no.
Peter, what was Montego's like?
Whoa, Montego's, now that was a really special club. I mean, that was the 80s. It was everything the 80s were. It was full of stars, Brian May, Anita Dobson, Wincy Willis, Timmy Mallet, Rusty Lee, me. We all used to go there.
And what about Fletcher? What was he like?
Fletcher, was that the old guy, the really old guy at the end of the bar, surrounded by young girls? I hate that. I mean, I hate that. Old guys chasing young girls. What?
The subject of Montego's came up in another celebrity appearance by Grout.
So what was the thinking behind Montego's?
Well, I've always been fascinated by the hospitality industry, having spent so many years receiving hospitality at Her Majesty's expense. I felt it was time to give something back.
Although the 80s was a time to be young and thrusting, Fletcher was lazy and in his 50s. At Montego's, he kept his head down and waited for Grout's inevitable insurance scam.
Of course, the club burnt down in suspicious circumstances, didn't it?
Suspicious, Melvin. Unfortunate, certainly. Who could have predicted such a freak electrical accident?
Well, it was rather...
Rather what?
Nothing.
I mean, when is a business owned by Harry Grout not burnt down? Luckily for Dad, it was his night off when the place went up. Like he told the police. He didn't know his arson from his elbow. So then, Uncle George sends Dad a video from Melbourne, I think.
George, Fletcher's older brother, had emigrated to Australia in the early 70s.
It's hotter than a Balinese stripper. This is what you're missing, Norm. Come on over, mate, you'll love it. Yeah, it's true.
In 1988, Fletcher made the surprising decision to sell up and join George down under.
I think he reckoned Australia would be a new start. No one over there would mind he was an ex-convict. It would be like he was their granddad.
But when Fletcher arrived in Sydney, disaster. His brother had vanished.
See, I'd had a little setback, namely 12 months community service in the Koala Reserve, following a little confusion over some some car parts. I know I should have told Norman, but he never did take bad news well.
Fletcher was running out of options. He returned to London in the midst of a property boom.
By the time Dad got back from Australia, the money he got for his old house wasn't enough to buy it back. He was on the street. On the street outside our front window, to be precise.
They were hard times. Country was being screwed, front and back. I'd always been angry, but Slade taught me to think a bit more, you know, as well as giving me a welding diploma. So I joined the SNP. Should we go across? I'm the education spokesman now. No bad for a wee orphan bastard that was found wrapped up in a copy of the Glasgow Herald on a Greenock housing estate, eh?
Help the poor blind doggy.
Things were about to get even worse for Fletcher when he ran into Bernard Ives, another Slade alumnus and a lifelong conman.
Help the doggies. Oh, thank you very much, sir. Here, listen. This is foreign. Don't you care about the doggies, then? Cheapskate.
Got the spuds, Mr. Ives?
Yeah. Here, listen, Fletcher.
What?
How much do they weigh, then?
You know already, don't you?
No, of course I don't. There's no scales out there.
All right. What's the bet then?
All the eggs you've got in there.
You crafty nerd. All right. Against what?
Ounce of snap?
You're on.
What about you, son? You in?
I know.
Right. Nearest one, eh?
Nearest one. £23.
I'll say 27.
You gave that a lot of thought, didn't you?
Well, just over 27. Well, would you believe it? Just over 27.
Help the poor blind doggy.
Jobless and homeless, Fletcher rented this flat from Ives.
Here, listen. I rented that flat to Fletcher in good faith. I mean, how was I to know about the rising damp or the subsidence? Henry Road. As I said to him, it's a good job it was condemned, otherwise it would have been a death trap.
While Fletcher slummed it in London, Grouty was heading to the Costa del Crime.
In 1997, you moved to Spain. Why was that?
I had a lot of business associates in Morocco. Spain was where I kept the Iron Lady.
Sorry?
My yacht. Named it after Mrs. Thatcher. Now there's a woman you can respect.
Grout. He was a gent, Grout was, yeah. He was a down to the salt of the earth, proper London, sociopathic gent, like the Crays, or the Richardsons. Yeah, in fact, one of the Richardsons once said to me, "What a piece of work is man. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable." No, that was Ralph Richardson. Yeah.
So you're in Spain, but you continued your business interests here.
I don't know what you mean, Melvin.
It's in your book, Harry.
Is it? Oh dear. I shall have to have a word with my ghostwriter.
Police are still searching for the Covent Garden jewel thieves. The men, armed with shotguns, held up a security van carrying in excess of £5 million worth of jewellery. It is believed to be the biggest jewel robbery in London's history.
No, we couldn't prove that Grout had organised it. I mean, he'd been in Spain for 2 years, but it had his fingerprints all over it. Not literally, of course. Unfortunately.
A lot of people have suggested you were involved in last year's Covent Garden jewel robbery.
A lot of people had better keep their mouths shut then. I was in Spain, Melvin. How could I possibly have organised that?
Over the phone?
So what happened next in the year 2000?
Summer of 2000? Yeah. We all decided to go on a Fletcher family holiday. First time in, well, probably ever. Costa del Sol.
Fletcher had no idea that the trip would change his life in more ways than one.
When we arrived, we hit the beach and, Dad being Dad, he went to the pub. And that's where he met her. I couldn't believe it after all these years. There she was, pulling pints at the Dog and Dago. Gloria.
Just remember till you're home, Norman. Home again.
Oh, Gloria.
You belong to me.
Gloria?
Oh, Norman.
Well, I was pleased for Dad. I mean, he deserved a bit of romance back in his life. I mean, I'm not condoning him sneaking off with her behind Mum's back, but all water under the duck's bridge now, as they say.
Yet another twist of fate awaited Fletch on the plane home, in the shape of Harry Grout.
To Fletch and the family, all the best, Grouty. We was on our way back from Spain, and there, right next to us, across the aisle, was Harry Grout. Our Dad laughed. Well, once he'd recovered from the shock. Grouty wrote this just before he,
The funeral was held today of one of the East End's most notorious gangland figures, Harry Grout. Grout, who died on board a plane returning to England from Spain, was believed to be the brains behind 2000's Covent Garden jewel robbery, the proceeds from which have still not been recovered. Police sources have revealed that Grout may have taken the whereabouts of the jewels with him to his grave.
He had a lovely send-off. Barbara Windsor was there. Well, we'd all like that when we go, wouldn't we, Mr. Johnson? Dad went. He took a lovely floral tribute. Do you know, Dad was the last person Harry Grout spoke to. He whispered something to Dad just before he passed away. This way, Mr. Johnson.
Police were stunned today as the jewels from the Covent Garden security van robbery were finally recovered after more than a year. They were found by a 70-year-old North London man, Norman Stanley Fletcher. Mr. Fletcher said he was delighted to have been able to help the police and was looking forward to receiving his £250,000 reward.
Fletcher's luck had finally changed.
Dad's a wily old fox. I asked him what Grout had said to him on the plane. He just smiled at me and said, "Ingrid, my love, that man's words of wisdom have changed my life."
Ah!
With his reward money, Norman Stanley Fletcher bought a pub in Muswell Hill.
Oh, cheers, love. See you tomorrow.
And so it was that at the end of a long and checkered career, he found happiness with the love of his youth, Gloria.
And you are?
You finished, Norman?
Oh, yes, thank you, Gloria, my love. The light of my life, the puller of my pints. Now, who is this lot here?
It's the BBC, Norman.
Oh, yeah.
They're making that documentary about you.
Why is that? Oh, your portrait of a recanted recidivist, is it? Yeah. The checkered career of your habitual criminal, eh? Social history through to personal, that sort of thing. Load of coppers.
I think Ted's ready, love.
Is he? Right. If you nerds will now excuse me then. See the pyramids across an aisle. Watch the sunrise on a tropic isle. Just remember, darling, all the while you belong to me. See the marketplace in old Algiers. Send me photographs and souvenirs. Just remember, when the dream appears, you belong to me. Fly the ocean on a silver plane. See the jungle when it's wet with rain. Just remember till you're home again, you belong to me. You belong to me. Yay! Thank you. Thank you.
Stick around for more from Fletch with a classic episode of Porridge next tonight. And next Friday night, Life Beyond the Box reveals the real-life story of Surbiton's most famous neighbour, Margot Ledbetter. That's New Year's Eve at 9 here on BBC Two.
She's a natural.